So first, a little introduction about you, about Nick Kemp. I'm going to speak a little bit to tell that who are you and just to the introduction of the model. I'm going to try to speak a little bit slow. I'm going to try. First, Nick Kemp, just to let the people know, is the creator of the provocative chain works model. He has a lot of experience in personal development. He has been working in the NLP fields, and after he met Frank Farrelly, who was the creator of the provocative therapy. And with him, he learned all this way of working, and Nick incorporate all his experience in creating this new model. So, welcome, Nick, to this interview. First of all, what is PCW? What is provocative change works?
Okay, well, provocative change works is a system of communication that can be used in coaching, can be used in business, it can be used in therapy, or it can be used in personal development. And essentially, it's a conversational way of working that gets people to resolve problems. So it may be a business situation, it may be somebody wants coaching in terms of figuring out a problem, or it may be a therapeutic issue. And in provocative change works, the practitioner works conversationally to get the client to think differently. So everything is done in terms of normal conversational exchanges, like if you're talking to an old friend. The difference in this way of working is in normal therapy or coaching, we normally start with the question, what do you want? In this approach, we start with the question, what's the problem? And then the practitioner or the coach will encourage the client to think differently by adopting lots of different positions. So it's done as if you're talking to an old friend in a teasing kind of way. For those people who have studied NLP, you could say it's like broadband reframing. For those people who have not studied NLP, it's a way of creatively exploring how to think differently, feel differently, and then be able to do things differently. I've been teaching this now for, would be 14 years, and I've been developing the model for 16 years. I've worked with around 8,000 clients, and I teach in 16 different countries. So it's very, very well practiced. I've been in Spain one time. I was in Valencia teaching 300 NLP students. With Michael Grinder, I was co-host with Michael Grinder. So it's for anybody who wants to develop their communication skills.
Wonderful. And which is the influence of the provocative therapy of Frank Farrelly in that work?
Okay, well, before I met Frank Farrelly, I heard about Frank Farrelly through Richard Bandler, one of the co-creators of NLP. And I heard about Frank when Richard Bandler in 2003 was running a master practitioner course in London. And Richard Bandler said, well, a lot of people have influenced me, Milton Erickson, Virginia Satir, Gregory Bates, and Fritz Perls. But there were other people as well, including Frank Farrelly, who created provocative therapy. Lots of students leaned forward and they wrote Frank Farrelly. And he then said, and if you think I'm crazy, you should meet Frank. So I didn't know Frank was alive or if he was even doing trainings. And then around a year later, my good friend Andrew T. Austin said, Frank is coming to the UK. So I went to a workshop on the South Coast in, it was in Bournemouth, I think, or Parkstone, one of those areas on the South Coast. And there were 17 people in the workshop. That's all. Myself, Andy, my wife, and a friend of Andy's. We were 4. So we were nearly a quarter of the whole workshop. And I watched Frank working, and I didn't know what to make of it. I just go, what is this? It's like Monty Python meets the Marx Brothers meets something really unusual. And I was there for 4 days, and I was instantly fascinated by what I was watching. There was no information except the original book written by Frank, and there was no video, there was no audio, there was nothing. It couldn't. So the best kept secret ever. But I could see from my NLP background and my 20 years of experience in personal change before then, that something really interesting was working. So I began to host Frank from 2005. We became very, very good friends. When he passed away, he left me his entire archive of material, which goes back to the late 50s, 60s, so well before the origins of NLP. And a big part of provocative therapy was then inspired provocative change works. The differences with provocative change works is I brought in everything I've learned from hypnosis, personal change, and NLP. So the model is much more refined and much more multi-layered. And now most of the people I teach around the world are therapists, coaches, NLP trainers. Steve and Connie Ray Andreas hosted me a few times. I've been 18 times to Japan, presented at medical conferences, 6 times to India, presented at medical conferences, Austria, Poland, Valencia, Israel, Russia. I presented to, did a workshop for 140 Russians. So it's very, very extensive and a lot of fun.
And in all these cultures, the model works in the same way, they react in the same way?
Yeah, when I first started out, especially when I was asked to go to Japan, I was training, I was invited to teach at a Robert Dilts conference in San Francisco called the IASH conference. In fact, I presented twice there. And some Japanese doctors came up to me and went, "Nick-san, we want you to come teach in Japan." And I thought, whoa, I'm not sure about this. This could be a real disaster, because I had a vision of the Japanese, very sort of formal, very culturally polite. But here's what I found. All around the world, whether it's New York, Japan, Budapest, Austria, Vienna in Austria, Bangalore, it does not matter where it is, people mostly respond in the same way. So all the cultural differences, it really doesn't make any difference. I just finished today, before talking to you, teaching a group right across India, people from all over India, and this is the 7th online session I've done with them. And they're doing really well. I mean, they're really developing and learning stuff. I'm going to be doing sessions, also online sessions. You go to provocativechangeworks.com, you'll see me doing online sessions, and then hopefully at some point, cross fingers, live sessions again with real people. So it works with whether you're working with like age 8, which is my youngest ever client, or to 88, my oldest client.
Wonderful. And what happened with this provocative approach? What is going on when it says it's provocative?
Well, there's a lot of myths about provocative. So it's always useful to clarify a few things, because people imagine provocative is like James Bond torturing some Iranian suspect. You know, we're not doing that. It is not aggressive. it's done in a light-hearted way, so that you're talking to people as if you're an old friend. So it's conversational. There's a little bit of teasing going on, but it's always done with good spirit and good humor. So the skill is to be able to work conversationally and in a friendly way. Let's repeat that again. Friendly way, not aggressive, friendly way. I have to explain this, not so much now because people know me. I mean, I've been referenced in a number of books, including Innovations in NLP, which was for the Research and Recognition Project, Steve Andreas's Transforming Negative Self-Talk. Provocative Changeworks is referenced in all of those and in many articles. And I always say it's a friendly interaction. If you end up being aggressive, you are not doing provocative style work as I would think of it, or as Frank Farrelly would think of it.
And one last question. I have seen that it can be very useful for different environments, like business environment, teaching environment. I think is very useful, but also in therapy environment, in the therapeutic approach, does it work with things like anxiety, depression, or addictions?
Yeah, I mean, I started off. My background is originally in business. I ran 2 companies that became multi-million-pound companies. And my background is in business, in sales, marketing, and recruitment. So I'm a problem solver. I came to do NLP in the late 90s, and I loved some of the skills in the NLP toolkit. I just thought, wow, this is just really, really interesting. And also explored hypnosis and meditation systems. When I met Frank, it was like the missing piece. With using Frank's insights, I then found, rather than doing techniques that I've learned in hypnosis or NLP, I could do all of that, but 10 times better in working with clients. So a lot of the work that I do privately, and I do a lot of pro bono work. I've just finished doing 23 sessions with a virology department who are working on COVID-19. Now, I did all these pro bono just to help out. And they all had anxiety-related issues. One had public speaking anxiety. Most of them had different work-life balance anxiety, generalized anxiety, lots of different typical problems that you would find. But the difference is, by using the PCW model, the changes at a really accelerated rate. Very unusual for me to see clients more than 3 times. And the average is twice, no matter how long-standing the problem is or how long-standing the difficulty is. In 2006, I did 26 consecutive appearances on BBC Radio using the PCW model. And we had everything from every kind of phobia you could imagine, every kind of anxiety you could imagine. You name it, we had it. So it works very conversationally, but it's very precise and very detailed. So it doesn't matter if you've done lots and lots of NLP or other skills, or if you've done nothing at all. If you have an interest in developing your communication, even if it's for your own work, not working with anybody else, it's hugely effective. I stopped teaching NLP about 10 years ago. I moved to PCW because it's like broadband. I mean, it's super, super efficient. And right now around the world, I have a whole group of students everywhere from Japan to Lebanon to Ireland to Austria, Croatia, America, all over, all learning the model and working on a one-on-one basis with me. So this is a group exploration. This isn't Nick sending down the great secrets from the mountain, the PCW mountain. This is a collective exploration, very much in an open source way, where we're figuring out what can help people in the best way to do that.
Wonderful. And one of the things to say to the people from Spain that they are watching us is that we are planning to do some trainings as well in Spain.
Yeah.
Right now, via online. But in the future, probably when all this COVID situation pass, in life. So just to let you know that in short we will have some trainings from basics to more advanced in the PCWB model.
Well, I did my one training in Valencia. I loved it. It was a wild training. I mean, it was, the Spanish were just full on wild. And also, the other thing I realized in Spain is that when people finish the training, two things I learned. One is they tend to eat very late in the evening, because we were eating at some crazy hour, and then they like to party like it's 1999. So this was a very good memory of being in Spain, and I think the model will work very, very well. And also these days, people are really interested in things that work.
Yes.
You know, there's all sorts of theory, but at the end of the day, show me the evidence for things working. And I'm a big fan of that. So I look forward to doing both online, and then at some point we get to meet real people bigger than this, you know, sort of like real human-sized interactions, which will be great. The website is provocativechangeworks.com, also online on Facebook as well. And if you just look out for Provocative Change Works, you'll find some stuff on YouTube as well. But you can find me quite easily online. And if anybody has any questions, they can communicate to you or directly to me from the site.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Nick, for your time. And
You're welcome.
See you soon.
Okay.